Hello, it's Alex, the Bookubus. Today I'm going to be talking about all of the books I read in January. I read 8 books and they were mostly horror. Before I get stuck into that though, quick question. So I've been doing monthly reading wrap-ups for quite some time now. I do enjoy doing them and I enjoy watching other people's, but because I have been reading, averaging several books a month, the reading wrap-ups tend to be my longest kind of videos, and I was just wondering if you enjoy watching longer videos where I'm talking about a bunch of books, or if you prefer splitting that up over 2 videos, so doing one halfway through the month and then another one at the end of each month, or if you would just prefer hearing about my favourite books of each month rather than every single thing that I have read. Or if you don't care either way, that is also fine. I was just curious, and it's one of those things, like, I've been doing monthly reading wrap-ups for so long, it's just a habit now. I don't think to not do that. So I was just thinking about it the other day and thought I would throw that out there in case anyone has any opinions one way or another. I would be interested to hear. But for now, I'm doing a wrap-up of everything I read in January, and the first thing I read was Charmed Life by Bernard Taylor. This was the last book on my 2020 If You've Got It, Read It challenge TBR, and I did not get to it by the end of the year, so I wanted to make a point of having it be my first read of 2021. He writes quiet horror really well, so if you're looking for something action-packed, then look elsewhere. But if you like a slower moving story that takes its time to unfold, then you might want to check this one out. So this is about a guy called Guy, and he was happily married and they had a son together, and the son died in a tragic accident. And after that, the relationship between him and his wife was never quite the same, and eventually they broke up, and then she also died. So Guy is still dealing with the grief of these two traumatic losses in his life, and currently he is doing some travelling in various different countries. And right at the beginning of the story, we learn about a group of people who are able to look into the future of Guy's life and witness certain things that are going to happen to him. Now, sometime previously to the present day, they had witnessed him involved in a horrific accident where he died. But in reality, when that accident took place, he actually survived. So this is a great anomaly in their future predicting ways, and they are now looking to find out exactly when this Guy is going to die, because he has to die. This is a big deal to these people, and they need to make sure that he does at some point die. I really liked the concept of this. I thought it was really interesting and unique. The story follows Guy travelling to London and spending some time there, and he ends up bumping into this woman who looks exactly like his dead wife. Anyway, I don't want to say too much more about this one and give things away, but there were some really interesting ideas in this one, and the story is, like I said, kind of slower paced, and we get a lot into Guy's backstory and his relationship with his wife and how certain things played out with them. He also finds out about some secrets, some information that had been hidden from him that he is only just finding out, and is having a big impact on him. It was quite emotional and sad at times. It really, delves into Guy's character and the things that he has dealt with and is dealing with. I enjoyed this one. I rated it 4 stars. Next up, I read The Mud Ballad by Jo Quenell. This is published by a really cool indie publisher, Weird Punk Books. This is about 2 brothers, Daniel and Jonathan, who are conjoined twins, and they are part of a freak show in a travelling circus, and they've been doing this for a really long time. And the story opens with Daniel killing Jonathan, so he will be able to live a life by himself and no longer being part of another person and having to share not only a body but also thoughts with another person. But of course this life alone isn't quite what he thought it was going to be, and he lives with a lot of regret. The other main character here is Dawes, who is a doctor who works with the circus people, and he is into some questionable medical procedures, shall we say. So we have Daniel, the remaining twin, and Dawes, the doctor. These two characters cross paths again at some point, and Daniel enlists Dawes to help him get his brother back. Oh, and there's also pig fighting, which is, yeah, another part of the story. Anyway, this was just absolutely wonderful. It was such a unique treat. Her ideas, her writing style, the characters, the feel of the story were just all excellently done. It's a pretty short book. It's less than 150 pages long, but there's so much in here, and yeah, just so much that I really, really enjoyed. It's full of strange characters and weirdness and wackiness. It's pretty gross and gruesome at times, and darkly humorous too. Yeah, so many great elements here that worked perfectly together. I'm so glad I picked this one up. I rated it 4 stars, and I would definitely be keen to read more of her work. Next up, I read Such Nice People by Sandra Scoppettone. I already have a review video for this one, so if you want to hear more of my thoughts, then go check that video out. But this is about a family, and it's set in the run-up to Christmas, and we learn right at the beginning of the book that the teenage son, Tom, is planning on killing the rest of his family. I really enjoyed this one. I rated it 4 stars. Then I picked up a point horror book. This is Fatal Secrets by Richie Tankersley Cusick. This one also takes place around Christmas time, so if you're looking for Christmas related horror books, then that's 2 for you. Anyway, this one opens with sisters, the main character Ryan and her older sister Marissa, and through a very tragic accident, Marissa falls through some ice into a lake and dies. And the story follows Ryan dealing with the death of her sister and trying to get back to having a normal life. She is at school and she is working a part-time job at a local toy shop. And at some point she starts to feel like she's being watched and followed, and some, strange things occur, as with all point horror books. Is it her sister come back from the dead to haunt her, or is there something else going on? I thoroughly enjoyed this one. This was another 4-star read for me this month. This one just had it all. It had a well-written and relatable teenage protagonist. It had a kind of tragic backstory. It has the creepy goings-on and the mystery surrounding that. It had a few love interests, which I'm not always, a huge fan of, but it really worked well in this one. In fact, one of the potential love interests is called Winchester Stone, which was just amazing. And I won't spoil who she ends up with, if anyone, but I really liked it. Yeah, this was just a really good point horror book that I really enjoyed. 4 stars. Then I read They Thirst by Robert R. McCammon. I have a separate review video for this one too, so again, I'll leave a link if you want to go hear more of my thoughts. This is a vampire novel, if you couldn't guess, and it's set in Los Angeles, and vampires are slowly descending on the city and trying to take it over, and we're following a handful of different characters as this plays out. This was a bit of a mixed bag for me. There were some elements I really liked, and then some of it just didn't really work for me, but it was still a pretty good one, and I rated it 3.5 stars. Then I read The Obsession, which is book 8 in the Power series by Jessie Harris. It's also the last book in the series. There were only 8 books in total, and this series follows teenage psychic Mackenzie Gold, and there isn't really like a through story throughout the series. Each book is a standalone story, just following the same characters. And this one is about a new girl who comes to town and starts at Mac's school, and they become friends, but she becomes a bit much, a bit overbearing pretty quickly, and Mac feels sorry for her. It turns out that this girl had a boyfriend who died in a hit and run accident, and the driver was never caught. So when she finds out about Mackenzie's psychic powers, she wants her to try and find out who the killer was. This was a really good one. I have really enjoyed this series. The characters are just really likeable, and the stories in each one are just, yeah, entertaining and well written. I rated this one 3.5 stars. Okay, 2 more books to talk about. Next up, I read Water Shall Refuse Them by Lucie McKnight Hardy. This is set in the UK in the 1970s during a summer where there was a real heat wave. And we're following this family who are travelling to Wales for a holiday. The main character is a 16-year-old girl called Nif, and her mum and dad and her little brother. And we find out that there was another child in the family who died in an accident, and the whole family have been trying to deal with that trauma in their own separate ways, and this holiday to Wales is kind of part of them trying to get away from things and deal. This is a dark character study about this teenage girl, and it also has elements of folk horror and witchcraft. So we're mostly following Nif here, and she has kind of started doing these rituals, and she has started collecting these things that she calls relics, including like a bird's egg, and she is kind of using these to work up to something. And alongside this, we also see the mum and dad of the family whose relationship is falling apart basically, and how that is affected by their time in Wales. And as the story goes on, we also learn more about the death of this other child of the family. And I won't say any more about this one, but I really liked it and I rated it 4 stars. I really enjoyed her writing, and just the tone of this novel definitely has a tone and an atmosphere and just a feeling about it that I really liked. It's pretty dark, it does go to some dark places, and I will say there is some animal cruelty and animal death in this book. There's quite a lot of it, in fact, so heads up for that. This is Lucie McKnight Hardy's debut novel, and I thought it was excellent. I really enjoyed this one, so I am definitely interested to see what she comes out with next. And last up, I read a non-fiction book called Terror, a history of horror illustrations from the Pulp magazines by Peter Haining. I borrowed this from the library and have already returned it, so I don't have it to show here, but it's a really cool book. Lots and lots of really cool reproductions of these illustrations that were on the covers of these magazines, and then also illustrating the stories inside. There is text as well as the pictures though, and it goes through a history of these pulp magazines of like horror stories and stuff, and starting with, I guess, the Victorian era and like the penny dreadfuls, and then moving through to like the 1960s and 70s. Well, there's definitely more pictures than words. What there was really informative and interesting. Anyway, it was a really cool read, and tons of really awesome illustrations. So I enjoyed it and I rated it 4 stars. So that was everything I read in January. If you've read any of these, I would love to hear what you thought about them, and let me know what your favourite book that you've read recently was. Thank you ever so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully I will see you again in my next video. Bye!